The night's long shadows have dragged you through time and across worlds to kneel here before my worm-eaten throne. I offer you now this one chance to walk away with your lives and your souls intact. Please, tell me our story. Time is a god without ambition. Time cares nothing at all for people, their moments of quiet joy, the laughter of their families, their temporary triumphs, their hunger to have more, to take more. And time cares nothing at all for our grief, our fight, our constant struggle to crawl out of the writhing heap that we've built for ourselves from our fears and our anxieties. It's human nature to see the faults in ourselves and in others. But time really doesn't care about any of that. It marches on with the most steady of rhythms. It watches impassively the failure of people's ambitions, the collapse of their kingdoms, and the inevitable fall of their heroes. Time is immortal, unyielding, ruthless. And we have heard time and time again that we cannot change the past. What happened, happened. But as we tell tonight's story, as we turn a new page in our tale of the world of Dragonlance, ask yourselves this: what have we been wrong all this time? How far would you go? What would you be willing to do to change the past? Honoria Salanthus, you do not remember how you came to be in this place. The last thing you remember is being carried by Sir Riordan through dark, monster-haunted woods towards the lights of a nearby town. As you lose consciousness, exhausted from the expenditure of your magic and the bruising you took as you fell from the sky, what was Honoria doing? What was she thinking?
There's no way they can hit me from there. Was the last thing I recall My magic being multiplied to further distances, underestimating my enemy poorly so, perhaps being egged on by Raccoon and his blood and battle lust following these vampire driven swarm of Kender into the darkness. And pride cometh before the fall, is so often said, but in this case, it is very much so literally. And that is the last thing I remember before falling into the darkness. Not for the first time, but hopefully for the last.
We'll see about that. You awaken beneath the earth. You are inside a large cavern at the edge of a black lake. There are many dark, unlit tunnels leading out of the cavern in every direction, and through a hole in the ceiling, the light of the black moon, Nutari, shines down, providing an eerie view of your surroundings.
Is my spellbook still on me?
It is.
That moment of panic receding as I touch the tooled leather outside and looking up to the dark moon, I glance my head about, checking where are my companions.
Roll me a perception check.
16.
You don't see your companions, not nearby, but you do see there on the shore of the lake lingers a singular still figure, one that you'd maybe missed before because of just how still they are. But you know that it's a man, cowled over, wearing the black robes of a wizard, leaning against a staff. You know that it's a man because he begins to cough into his cowl. His back is turned towards you. He stares down at whatever this dark substance is that fills the lake.
Do I think I'm dreaming? Do I think that this is reality?
Roll me an Arcana check.
24.
At first, you feel like it's a dream. You don't feel tired, beaten physically. But as you stretch your perception out, it's a dream and it's not a dream. There is something real about this place. You realize that you've seen this lake before.
I gather my black cloak around me and walk outwards towards the lake, my hands at my side. Have I failed you?
The figure coughs into the cowl of its robe again, and it turns, still leaning on its staff. It's a man leaning on a staff made of wood with a golden dragon claw at its top that holds a crystal ball. As he turns, his face reflects the moonlight, shining with a golden shimmer to his skin. His eyes themselves are dark, but for their pupils, which are shaped like golden hourglasses. And he answers you with a whisper. Oh, you've not failed me yet. But I am curious, would-be wizard. How are you finding your time in Nightlund so far?
It is slow moving. Not like the sands of an hourglass, but more like syrup through the veins. It is hard to do what you have asked of me. To manipulate those around me for our end goals. When they have so many of their own,
That is a challenge that I do understand. Do you think that you are capable of accomplishing what I've asked?
I am. I am making more than headway. The knight follows me, unwittingly. The priestess believes that I am turning to see her point of view. The rest, they are still lost. And I be the one, Shirak, to provide the light.
You seem cautious to me. Caution will not serve you here. Fear will not serve you here. You must overcome that.
I have before, and I will again. I do not fear anything that this land throws my way.
Roll me a deception check.
At 20.
He bobs his head. The hood of his robe comes down over his eyes so that you can no longer see them. Very well. While we are here and we have this time, how may I assist you from afar?
I have found none of the beacons in which Lord Soth uses for his power. The Lake of Sounds, in what literature I am able to come across, is still hidden, and I walk up to the shore, kind of placing my foot just before where the tide would kind of push it in, or ripples of water. And there is one that leads himself into the madness of Soth's domain before any of the beacons are destroyed. Reardon will not let Lorana go.
Lorana.
The Golden General is here.
How did this come to be?
She coalesced out of nothing. I'm not certain that it is not a false image. If you give the knight hope that Lorana lives and escapes, my path will be much easier to tread.
I can do little from where I am. I am not in Nightland. And are you so sure that these beacons are part of the task I have given you? Are you confused?
Are you not the same wizard in different guise, standing in two different locations, testing me?
Of course I'm not.
How
Who do you
curious.
speak of?
I describe Fistandantilus.
Do you tell him what Fistandantilus offered you?
No, I do not tell him about the apprenticeship. I thought this was you, attempting to get me to betray you.
No. He is something else entirely, and he might offer you similar things that I have, but you have to make a choice. You cannot trust him. You know anything about Fistandantilus, this wizard you speak of?
I recall poring over tomes from my childhood and every bit of information that I think Raceland might find impressive in that moment. I believe with one of my feats, I'm able to recall an arcane piece of lore or something strange once every now and then.
Say that you've heard that he is long-lived and that he's taken many apprentices throughout the years. And as you sort of recount this to Raceland nods his head and then adds, "Yes, but history never tells you what happened to those apprentices. He devours them. He drinks their power once they're fat enough. He will do the same to you."
I, as a player, know this is true. Honoria, however, does not. I would like to study my would-be master's face and see if this is just simply a boogeyman tale that he is trying to tell me.
Roll me an insight check.
Nat 20.
He's being, in this moment, entirely honest with you, at least to his knowledge.
I wonder how many fools he has already drank. I will not be that fool.
So what is it that keeps you from going to the Lake of Sounds, of searching it out, of destroying its guardian?
Lorana, O'Riordan, chases her like some love-struck youth. I've never understood the need for love. Why? When there is magic.
And how can you change his aim or convince him that both goals are the same?
This I do not know, Master.
You should think on it. And remember, Honoria, you cannot hide from danger. Death here, it floats on the air, creeps through the window, comes with a handshake of a stranger. If you stop living because you fear death, then you've already died. You must be bolder if you are to become great.
She feels that as surely as she would an icy dagger in her back, because her whole life she has been running and afraid and does not appreciate being torn down and made so naked in front of one so powerful.
Enough of that, though. While we are here before you awaken, what can I show you? What would be of most immediate help to you?
I don't suppose you'd give me that staff.
It's not really here, Honoria, and neither am I.
Then show me where I can find information on the Lake of Sounds and complete my task, or show me the human or being that I must slay.
There are a number of individuals and entities at work here, all vying for power in one way or the other. The Lake of Sounds, and he gestures out towards the lake with a circle of his staff. As it does, the shadowy substance ripples on its surface. It can be used for multiple purposes. There is another who seeks it. Her purpose is different than ours. Just as dangerous as Fistendantilus's, in a different way. Perhaps you've met her. And as he says so, the image in the lake the ripple begins to take the form of a woman's face. As it does, you recognize the face, moonlight shining down and reflecting off of it. It's the face of a gypsy woman, of a woman named Inza, who you shared camp with just a few nights ago. And in this image, she's holding a box. The box slowly begins to open.
I had that in my hands.
box continues to open more and more and more and more and more. It opens more than a box should be able to open. Beyond reason, beyond the laws of physics. And you feel yourself no longer looking at the lake, but in the lake. And again, you're choking, just like when you came to this land. But only for a moment. And then you fade back to whatever semblance of sleep you had before. We cut back to the good night's rest in Trade Post in the Gothic little town of Harthalen. The companions went to sleep wary of possibly being interrogated by the Police Skara, the local guards and investigators, aware that there are spies in the town that work for the local government run by a man named Lord Speaker Mason. Lord Speaker Mason, in turn, answers to Lord Soth himself. They also learned that all outsiders to the nation of Nightlund are considered to be allies to the enemy empire named Polyphero. In fact, what was said to Rook-Own and Sabria at the local tavern during their night of drinking and playing rock parchment shears was that outside of Nightlund, everything is considered to be Polyphero. So with that information, the companions slept the night in the inn, prepared to make their decisions about the next steps come morning. Some slept better than others. Some slept worse. Averin, you are the first to stir in the morning. You feel sick, sweaty and cold at the same time. Your hand sticks to your face as you touch it. And you remember every bit of the dream you had the night before and your encounter with Sir Leon Barnabas, who offered to save you if you would come find him.
Yeah, so after that first kind of moment of just checking and feeling the sweat and this exhaustion, she's gonna notice there's a glass of water at the foot of her bed. She's a little confused by that. And so she'll kind of lean over and take it off the bed and stand up as quietly as she can, reaching for that table to set the glass down. And she's noticing that her companions are sleeping in front of the door out.
Would Reardon be awake?
Riordan, roll me a perception check. And Averin, go ahead and roll me a perception check as well.
A strong 10.
She wakes up a little bit before you, even though Sir Riordan doesn't sleep as much as most people. So he's not awake yet. And Averin, I'll say with a 12, when you take a sip of the water, it tastes just a little bitter to you.
Yep, putting that glass down. Yeah, she's kind of looking and she's going to gently wake up whoever is sleeping in front of the door.
I think Sir Riordan's in front of the door, and then Rook-Own is like next to him, if I recall.
Rook-Own's sleeping on the door, resting on his shield.
Yeah, so she'll kind of just gently move his shoulder a bit.
Rook-Own's?
Yeah, Vagones. Vagone?
What? What? Hello? What? What?
Um, sorry. I just have to step out for a sec. And you're kind of
Kind of what?
you're kind of blocking the door.
Rookone, you remember something too as you begin to stir. It's the fragmented memories of an already fading nightmare still clinging to your mind. And as you're having this conversation with Avrin, flashes of those memories come back to you. You dreamt of bone-white grass on a loping hillside. You dreamt of picking white roses from bushes under the moonlight and putting them into a simple wicker basket. You dreamt of standing at the top of the hill, your eyes turned upwards, your voice howling. You dreamt of the whispering beast, very tall but starvation thin and covered in dirty hair, with arms that bend the wrong way, hanging down below its knees, his hands constantly moving, agile, profane, tracing vulgar patterns in the air. Your last memory of the nightmare is of your friend beside you, the Minotaur Hesgroneth, shoulder to shoulder. He's staring upwards too, crying, tortured tears streaming down his face, and he is also howling. That's what you wake up to.
What are you? Why are you here?
I was sleeping, and now I'm awake.
So Rukon is kind of processing all of this at once, recognizing her request to get out the door. So he moves the least amount that he could possibly move for her to get like a solid 6-inch opening in the door for her to get out.
She's small, and she can fit through small spaces. So
Everyone roll me a perception check.
Strong 20.
Tia, Honoria is still sleeping real hard. She did fall 120 feet the night before. That's a long fall. However, at this point, both Sir Riordan and Sabria begin to stir.
Sabria sits up on the edge of the bed for a moment. I slept so well. She stands and does another stretch. And then grabs her pack and walks toward the door. As I see Rukon still sitting there, I pat him on the shoulder a little roughly. Good morning. May the Lord of Light shine on you, my friend. How are you this morning?
It'd be better if you could. Do you remember a couple of nights back when you made that dark liquid?
Yes, I guess I do.
I could use some of that right now.
Well, that's exactly where I'm headed, if you'll let me squeeze through the door.
I'm laying where I'm laying. I can't move. There's a solid 6 inches there for you to get out.
Do we have to play Rock Shear's Parchment again? That didn't go well for you last night, as I recall.
He slaps his palms on the wood and drags his body a couple of inches further so the door can open.
And there's a fireplace in the room too. Just to throw that out there at you. You got a room with a chimney.
Thanks. I'm heading to get some water.
Reardon will wake up and throw another log onto the fire and check on Honoria to see if her condition has improved at all. She hasn't regained consciousness. But he checks to see if the hot water bladders that he put in place are probably in need of, reheating. So he puts some water on to do just that.
And she'll if you try to stir and check on her, she will wake up at that point.
Good morning.
Is it morning? Or is he just saying good morning as in like the formal, like good morning?
It is
It's morning.
both. It is both a formal greeting and it is the dawn. Or what passes for dawn here.
I think that I am no longer afraid.
Fear is gone, then? You are fearless?
Yes. I think I understand. We shall see. She reaches for her spellbook and begins flipping through some pages.
And Honoria, you find yourself waking up. This is your first time consciously seeing this room, but it's a very cozy, not too large, but larger than the average inn room with two comfortable beds, a singular wide window that has had its, I believe, its bars removed.
They're there.
They're there.
Yeah, Avrin took care of them, right, Kiana? Didn't she just leave them up, but we can just literally push them out if we have to, the bars on the window?
Yeah, so she left them up so that like they weren't obviously like ready to be pulled off, but they are ready to be pulled off.
Fingers crossed, no hard breezes.
And then a chimney fireplace as well in the room.
I'm just going to pace back and forth while I read my spellbook, and there is clear frustration on my face, but I am just churning over words in my head.
Reardon will take out a polished bit of metal and a pair of small shears, and he will trim his fantastic beard and mustache and just go about the day.
I wish I had prestidigitation so bad right now. Fuck, I'm sorry. I do
Rukon sucks to be you.
Rukon in like the churning agony that's going on in his stomach and feeling the chest wound, he's going to continue to crawl his way further closer to the fireplace and like a full sprawl of his monstrous like 7-foot frame just laying, absorbing as much heat from the fireplace as he can.
And then Avrin and Sabria, are you both leaving the room?
I'm only going very quickly downstairs to fetch some clean water from my sacrament. All right.
Well, Avrin, you would head out first, and you would see the entrance to the inn down below. There's a balcony where your room and the other rooms are. They overlook this sort of lobby where there's several tables, and there's a counter, and behind the counter, back hallway that heads into a kitchen. This room last night was very quiet. Today it's a little noisier. And down there, it's not that the inn itself is more populated, it's that the adjacent trading market, for which there's a hallway that leads out into this sort of courtyard where there's various stalls and tents set up, is not bustling, but active. That was closed when you arrived last night. It's open now, and you can already smell fresh cooked meats, hear the barking of people selling wares, and market goers who are chattering with each other. Very much there's a warm sense of community, kind of warmth that you maybe didn't sense from this town the night before. And just like the night before, there's a man behind the counter dressed in very, very bad costume version as a knight. This is one of the two men that runs the inn and trade post.
Yeah, so Avern, and actually if Sabria kind of rushes past her, she's kind of taking this all in. So this, Sabria.
Yes, my child, good morning.
Right, morning. It may just be something odd with my particular glass of water, but it tasted interesting.
Do you feel ill?
She does look a bit paler and sweaty and more disheveled than she usually is. I don't know if it's from the water. Might just be the place.
I move to place the back of my hand gently on your forehead.
She's cold. Even though she's sweating, her skin is cold.
Yes. I step closer, and I make to press my cheek against your forehead this time to feel it more
Avern's trying
sensitive.
really hard not to flinch, but you can sense like her tensing up.
I'm only checking to see if you're feverish, child. Did your mother never do this for you?
No.
Well, my cheek lingers against your forehead for a moment. Well, you're certainly not feverish. What's brought you downstairs? Can I bring you something? Can I get something for you?
No, just wanted to scope things out.
Well, I'm getting some water to prepare my morning sacrament. I think you might find it refreshing. It would certainly warm you up.
I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm just gonna take a look around.
All right, then. And I turn and make toward the kitchen.
Sir Ethan's behind the counter, and he sees you approaching. And he has a fairly warm disposition towards you, despite everything else. And he kind of waves at you and says, "Oh, hello there. How was your stay? Comfortable, right?"
Quite comfortable. Lovely, in fact. Your hospitality is most gracious. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying so. We do try here. Please, would you like some breakfast or anything?
I think perhaps we would have some breakfast, but we're still rousing ourselves. Some of us had quite a night. I'm just fetching some water. I wonder if you could point me toward the cistern in the kitchen, perhaps.
Would you like a pot? I could bring you a pot of cold water, hot water.
That's very kind of you. It's for something of a religious ceremony. Only I can touch it. So if I could just fill my.
Well, that's what religion?
I am a humble follower of Sirion, the Lord of Fire, the God of Light. And what God do you follow?
Oh, I don't. I do not follow a god, nor have I heard of Sirion. But if you hurry and you don't mind me watching you, I'd be happy to take you back to the kitchen and allow you to fill up your... Is that fine?
I don't mind at all. I'd be grateful for the company, in fact, Ethan.
Oh, absolutely. And you should know, and he's waving you back behind the counter now and he's parting the curtains that lead through the hall to the kitchen. You should know that the Pulitskera will be by sometime this morning to speak with you. Just a formality, of course. They do this to all newcomers to town.
So I've heard. I'll be looking forward to meeting them. I understand that, that they're quite impressive, formidable, in fact.
Well, they do keep the peace. They are to be trusted and not to be crossed. Please, come. Have yourself some water. He'll take you back.
Mm-hmm. I will fill a skin with water, just checking to see that there's nothing unusual, but from the common cistern in the kitchen.
Roll me a perception check.
I will use inspiration here.
All right.
16.
So the only thing that you notice is that Sir Ethan doesn't seem, despite all of his attempts to be gracious and helpful, doesn't seem entirely comfortable around you. You can't tell if he's just anxious or if maybe you weird him out or if there's something else going on. However, in the actual room itself, there's nothing strange about the water. If you taste a little bit of it, then it tastes normal to you. It seems like a normal, functional kitchen, the sort of kitchen you'd find at an inn.
The fact that Ethan might be a bit creeped out by me means absolutely nothing to me. So I'll feel my skin. Sir Ethan, thank you so much. You've been so kind and understanding.
Well, of course. Will you all be staying tonight as well? Is that your intention?
I don't know. I hope so, though. I've grown to like it here.
Oh, well, good. I'm always happy for the business. And, if you need anything at all, you let me know. I won't charge you for any meals or whatnot until at least this evening. So feel free to ask me if you need anything. He'll lead you back out to the front. Let's cut away there and go to Avrin. As Sabria's moved away, what's Avrin doing?
Where does she remember that dream taking place?
So you remember it taking place out on the streets of Harthalen. Like along the main road.
Yeah, so she's gonna look around for a second and then shrink and make my way to the door, trying to be as unnoticed as possible.
All right, go ahead and roll me a stealth check. And roll me a perception check as well. And you do have disadvantage on these rolls because you have a level of exhaustion.
Okay.
You do notice from the marketplace as you're slipping out, somebody sees you. Nothing to be alarmed about. It's an old woman tending to a bush of flowers, and she has some sort of bottle, some sort of liquid in her hand that she's also setting aside for a customer. She looks over her shoulder right as she sets it down on this counter of this tent, and this is out in the marketplace. She spies you leaving through the door that leads to the lobby. An old elvish woman.
Yeah. Aaron's gonna play it off. She's not gonna, be like show any signs of like it's unusual. And she's just gonna note it and then head out.
All right, roll me a deception check. All right, you slip out into the street, and as you exit into the main street of the town, it's morning now. The lights not shining overhead because it's very cloudy here. It's not raining at the moment, but it's still very gloomy. And as you press into the street, there's people moving up and down, going about their business. You are on the west side of town. And from here to the east, you can see the town stretches on. There's a wealthier section. And then somewhere beyond that, the far east side of town, there's a large hill. And you can see a large building rised up above the rest of the town on this hill. However, right as you're stepping out of the street, you almost are knocked into by a person pulling a cart. And they kind of bow their head and excuse themselves and continue to pull the cart towards the town gates. There's several carts being pulled towards the town gates, and all of them have canvases draped over their backs, so you can't really see what's beneath them. You roll me a perception check, though. Even with disadvantage, 17's pretty good. Smells like death. Like bodies.
Interesting. Yeah, so as she kind of, that smell of death and congealed blood kind of hits her nose, she wrinkles it. And she's going to turn to the street and see if she can spot that stretch that she had met, at least the dream version.
You feel like it was closer to the center of the town, the wealthier area of the town where the buildings are a little taller to your east.
Yeah, so I'm gonna head over there.
All right.
Making sure to kind of try to stay within the crowds, not draw attention to myself.
Roll me one more stealth check.
I'm gonna use an inspiration.
to cancel out your disadvantage.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Nat 20.
That helps a lot. All right, we're going to cut away from Auburn for a minute as she moves towards the center of the city. Sir Riordan, Ragone, Honoria, back up in the room. What are the three of you doing?
Yeah, I was going to say, Sir Riordan's cleaning his sword, and he's going to tell Honoria they're sending some type of police to check us. Some type of city officials, some guard. Does
But
not sound
why?
because we're strangers. Does not sound promising.
Fine. Bribe them and send them away.
I'm sorry, have we not met? I don't bribe anyone. And you have 2 days. 2 dawns from now, I head north.
I believe that my mind has been changed on this, Sir Knight. I believe that regardless of the time, that I go with you. That I do not fear anything in this land anymore.
Riordan cannot hide the shock on his face.
Honoria is pacing back and forth as she says this, grabbing her book, clutching it to her chest. She says that she's not afraid, but fear is the cloak that she wears over her. It is incredibly obvious that the idea of heading straight long into danger is something that upsets her deeply.
I will, of course, appreciate the company. Is our work here in the south done?
She kind of lets her eyes fall over to Rickon in his sorry state by the fire. How long have I been asleep for?
Better part of 12 hours.
We all heard in the woods that Vistani bitch basically telling us all to fuck off, essentially, right?
The whispers are unique to Ragone.
Damn.
He's the only one who's heard the whispers.
Okay.
What, did anybody have any water? When's Sabria coming back with the magic bean juice?
I will. I'll bring my water skin over to Ragone and kind of place it by like leaning on his face so he doesn't have to search for it.
My arms are too sore. You pour it right in. Ah.
You remind me of my little sisters, I say as I pour into his mouth. Having done this a time or two for my younger siblings when they were but wee babes.
Are your sisters noble warriors who excel in combat? Ah.
No, they're
doesn't
babes,
answer.
much like your acting.
Oh, sweet Jesus. I knew this was gonna come. God forbid I fucking have fun one night.
Who's this Jesus you speak of?
He sounds great.
That's when Sabria comes back in with water.
Fuck!
Oh.
It's a curse word. It's a curse word we're using Kothas.
I see. I'll write that down in my notes.
Cursing already. And I notice Honoria.
Priestess.
Not only are you awake, but you're pacing as though the hounds were behind you.
I do not like losing time.
Well, I hope you won't mind losing a few more moments. My friend here has asked to partake of the sacrament.
Her eyes
and
light
it's
up.
my duty to oblige. I move to the fire and begin setting up the pot.
Her eyes furtively glance from Reardon to Raccoon to Sabria to the pot of magic beans, and she tries to distract herself. Sonoria does have a weak spot for your coffee.
So, about the law of this land that's going to be crashing down upon us in moments.
Well, you will not bribe them. Will
No,
you
I will
perhaps enlist their help for poor maiden being held captive? If they are decent men, they would assist us.
They're not going to be. Call me pessimistic.
My whole life I have been dealing with indecent men. There are other options.
There's a rapping on the door. It's a hard knock.
Priestess, did you leave Averin?
She left me, Sir Knight.
Hello? Hello?
He slides absolution into his... The bars on the windows move. Averin has rigged them to fall. He walks over and opens the door. Can I help you?
You open the door, you see 3 town guards, much like the men who stood atop the walls when you first entered the town, standing behind a man wearing plate mail armor. Sir Riordan, you would recognize him as a Knight of the Rose. He's dressed almost identically to Sir Jeremy you met on the road some days ago. This man is also older, weathered face, tan, several battle scars, but overall still a little gentler looking maybe than you remember Sir Jeremy looking. And as he stands there, as the door swings open, he says, "Are you the outsiders? The newcomers?"
We are. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Honoria. How can I be of service? And she bows deeply as a well-trained noble girl might.
I'll let you roll me a deception check.
I'm gonna use inspiration.
All right. He casts a side glance to Honoria, and there's a strange spark of not quite buying what you're selling this in his eyes, but he doesn't say so. Instead, he looks back to Sir Riordan, who's standing there in front of him. "Well, can we come in and speak?"
I'll step modestly back behind the big, strong knight Reardon and have him address the men like men should.
Riordan's not sure what's more uncomfortable, the fact that Honoria is at his back or these 4 are at his front. "Yes, sir, come in and we shall speak."
Sabria has not moved at all. She's still kneeling in front of the fireplace, preparing the sacrament.
And what's Rokon doing at this moment?
When the door was opened, he was still laying in front of the fireplace with, moisture and water around his face. His bare, meaty minotaur ass to the world. And then the door opens and he suddenly struggles to regain a sense of decency and pushes himself up and back to the stone on one side of the fireplace. and he hunches over his knees and then looks expectantly at the door.
The Knight of the Rose sweeps into the room. He does have a cape, and the cape flaps behind him as he pushes into the room past Sir Riordan. His eyes moving to each of you in turn. The other three men stand on the outside of the room. Only one actually takes one step through the door, standing directly in front of it. The other two on the outside. The knight moves to the window, and with his natural 20, he takes a gauntleted finger and he pushes it against the grate and pulls the grate off of the window where it's hanging, looks down to it, and he sets it down on a table, and he turns back towards the group. Well, it's obvious that you're not from around here. So why don't you tell me where you are from?
He looks around at everyone else and looks back at the knight. The woods.
Well, yes, you do look like you are from the woods. He looks to Sir Riordan now, looking him up and down, maybe a little harder and more discerningly than he did before. I am Knight Commander Gerhardt of Har Thalen. 'Tis my job to make sure the town is safe and that dangerous outsiders are not causing trouble here. Now, if you answer our questions honestly, then I will be gone and you will go about your business. But I do have some questions and I require honest answers. Now he looks to Sir Riordan. Are you a man of honor?
Yes, sir.
Then tell me your name and where you are from.
I am Lord Pathwarden. And I am from the north.
Where exactly in the north? Malmene?
Why do you ask these questions of a man of honor? My word is my bond, and my honor is my life. I have told you where I am from, of what I am comfortable giving. You are not my commander, Knight Commander.
You are in my lands. I am responsible for the people of this town.
Have we
Surely,
committed a
as a man of
crime?
honor, I do not know yet. However, the night, the very night that you arrived here, many died. We cannot tell why. We do not know yet why. But it is a coincidence that I am not comfortable with, nor am I comfortable with how different the lot of you are compared to most here in Nightlund. For instance, him, and he gestures with a gauntlet to Rokon. I can count on one hand the number of minotaurs I have seen in this land. And yet here he is. And her. And he now points to Sabria, where she's kneeling by the fire, preparing her sacrament. I do not know what she's doing over there, but I have heard that she is a religious sort. Religion is a rarity, even more so than minotaurs in Nightlund. And you, he now points directly to Sir Riordan. What exactly are you a knight of? You might call yourself a man of honor, but if you do not serve my lord, then who do you serve?
Who do I serve? I serve under the Golden General Lorana. I am a knight of the crown.
You are no knight of the crown of this land, and I have never heard of this golden general. Is she in the service of the king priest?
These questions, they are beneath me. If you wish us to no longer be in your town underneath your care and under this roof, we will leave, so coincidence does not strike again the town of Harthalen.
Well, I am afraid I cannot let you leave while we are undergoing an ongoing investigation. You can all partake in the investigation and help us understand one another, or you can resist.
We seek only to do good in this world. We are happy to assist. My companions and I are just a little afraid of being so boldly approached. We are a simple kind.
Rukon pushes himself up, so he stands up, and he starts, from various parts of his body, taking all of his weapons, gathering them up on the floor, putting them in his hands, walks up to the knight and puts them in front of him. Here, take my weapons. Leave me my shield. I will help you with the investigation, but I'm quite thirsty.
Perhaps we might get to know each other a little bit better.
He looks down at your weapons, and one of the guards steps forward as you approach him, almost as though they expect the Minotaur to attack. But he waves off the guard and he says, "No, you do not need to turn your weapons over to me, not yet. I only ask that you tell me the truth. I can tell that you are afraid of speaking your truth, but that will get us nowhere."
At this, Sabria stands. She bows slightly toward the fire and turns around. The truth. The truth is that we possess weapons that you could not take from us, even if you wanted to. I am Sabria Sunashal. I was born in the town of Aldhaven, north of Istar. But the sea of shifting sands is my home. I am here on business of my god. What do you know of the king priest?
So as she says this, the three guards begin to panic. The one standing in front of the door immediately draws his weapon. The younger of the two standing outside scrambles back towards the railing, almost goes back over the railing and falls down, but catches himself. The other one on the outside of the hall looks similarly conflicted as to whether he's coming into the room or retreating. The knight himself, though, his hand does move to the hilt of his sword, but he doesn't draw the sword. His eyes burn towards Sabria. "So you admit it then, you are all spies of the king priest. Come here. How?"
Oh no. No, I'm no spy. In fact, well, the last time I laid eyes on the king priest, I drove this scimitar through his chest, and I'll do it again. when the opportunity arises, and this time I will finish my task.
Roll me a persuasion check.
May I also keenly study his reaction? She's fucking
Absolutely.
doing all this shit.
A persuasion, you said? I will also use an inspiration here.
Okay.
And Dawn, just
Hold on.
Nice.
No, it'll be 18.
Nice.
Dawn, just so it's narratively pressed, Riordan is looking at this guy and sizing him up, and I'm taking a minute to do so.
Gee, I wonder why.
Okay, so with a 12 on the insight check, what is it that Honori is trying to discern here?
They seemed like they were ready for a fight, and after that, I just want to know if they are picking up what she's putting down, so to speak. If that's kind of the magic words for us all to be friends here. Like, is fuck the king priest the right thing to say here, essentially?
There's definitely a breakdown in communication. There's something that they don't understand about you, and there are things that I don't think you understand about them, and that much is evident. However, you can tell by the way he says the word king priest that he is not a fan.
Okay. Work with that.
But with the 18 on the persuasion check for Sabria, he doesn't draw his blade. He does say, I don't know how you expect me to believe that. You cut through the king priest, that your blade has touched a god.
I step forward toward him, just a step. If you'd like, I can arrange a demonstration for you.
Roll me an intimidation check.
I will use another of my many inspirations. 14.
That makes a difference. Let's see here. It's a lot of information to take in. So he doesn't shrink back, but he also he does let go of the hilt of his sheathed sword, and he says, "That will not be necessary. I don't know what you are, or what you are doing here, or how you came to be in Nightland. But if you are not here on behalf of the king priest and his empire, why are you here?"
I am searching for a husband.
Roll me a deception check.
Damn. Damn it.
He kind of gives like a despairing look up and down at this black robed figure. Seems unlikely, but what about the rest of you?
Personal guard, I say, pulling out my hefty bag of 74 gold and putting it down on the table.
Gold clinks out of the bag, and one of them like rolls out down the table and rolls around the foot of this knight. He looks down at it and he says, "That's not our coin. I've never seen that before."
You gonna take my weapons, or can I put my arms down?
No, keep your weapons.
Okay.
Just tell me the truth. It's that or I come back with more men.
Sir Knight, I've told you the truth. If you do choose to come back, though, you might bring some of a stouter constitution than these. They seemed a bit shaken when I spoke earlier.
He looks out to them, and they still look a little shaken. Only the one standing in front of the door has his weapon out and looks sturdy at all. The other two are definitely more anxious and hanging outside. The knight says, "We can talk all day about my men. I have plenty of them, some more veteran than others, which I'm sure you can imagine. But let's cut to the chase here. Why are you in Harthalen, and what do you have to know or do with these deaths that we experienced last night at the hospital?"
Deaths?
What deaths? We know nothing.
I pick up my gold. I have been unconscious for the past 12 hours. He is hungover. We've been here in this room. If you think that we could be capable of killing anyone in this sword state, her voice changing from her happy-go-lucky tone in her anger.
That is the first thing you have said that I believed.
There, see? You asked us to be honest and said that if we were, we could go on our way. All we would like to do is to reprovision, spend a bit of our foreign coin at your stalls, and we'll move on.
I'm quite interested to hear about these deaths and what happened.
You tell me what you are doing in my town, and then perhaps we can work together on what is going on. Did you come alone? Are there any others? I was told there were 5. If you were not responsible, then perhaps there is another here that came with you or around the same time as you.
There was a dwarf who had a cart that we guided along the road some days back. He was kind and gentle. I do not think him capable of killing anyone, though he did brag for quite some time that he was an astute adventurer. But he was old and frail.
Rukon looks to Riordan and tries to communicate with eyes, like, where is Avrin? Where did she run off to?
And as he does so, because we have a donation to make things worse, we're going to cut back to Avrin for a moment.
Good luck.
Avrin, you've been moving down the street. You've been heading east, looking for the wealthier area of town that you remember from before. You find it. It's less crowded than it was in your dream, but there's a number of people here. It's for a moment bright outside. The clouds have parted for a few minutes, and this is the sunniest that you've seen nightly since you've been here. What is it exactly Avrin's doing? What is she looking for?
She's looking for that building that she saw Barnabas turn to before, he showed up right behind her.
Roll me a perception check.
I'm going to use inspiration on this.
All right. Excellent. All right. That cancels out your exhaustion. Interesting. So here's what you see. You are in the wealthier area of town. It's a very short street. Beyond it, you can see a shanty town. This is a place with shacks and tents, more populated, a larger area of town further to the east, and then beyond a hill and a larger compound on the hill. But on the short street that you remember from your dream and that you're at now, there's several manors that are 3 stories, some of them only 2 stories tall, but larger, wealthier. Some of them gated, some of them guarded even. As you're looking around, you see 2 of interest that you recognize from your dream. One manor on the left side of the street and one manor on the right side of the street. The manor on the left side of the street, That's the building you recognize from your dream. That's the one that you saw Sir Leon step towards. But with a 21, I'll give you this. The side alleyway around the corner, you see another figure move into the alleyway now. You don't catch their face, you just catch a bit of the material of their dress. Flowers. Then they're gone.
There is a moment where Huffen's heart just kind of skips a beat. And for a moment, she thinks about pursuing, as she always does, chasing after her sister. But then she remembers what the last time she saw Literally was like and what she did. And she's going to keep an eye on that alleyway, step towards the house that she remembers, looking at the windows for any sign.
The windows are draped on the inside, drawn shut. There is a gate that blocks you from getting to the outside, the front door, but if you were to try the gate, it's not locked.
Do I seem to be getting any weird looks for going like up to this door and like?
I think roll me a stealth check. Your last stealth check was really good. So up to this point, you've kind of been able to move through town. You look poor enough and unsuspicious enough that you don't think anybody's followed you up to this point.
Nat 1, crit fail.
You see for a moment a face in the shadow of the nearby alleyway. Same alleyway that you just saw the dress move into. It's a veiny, pale, almost green face. It's the face of Lyrily. She sees you, her eyes wide, looking surprised. She covers her mouth, and then she steps back into the alleyway.
Curiosity is going to take hold here. And also the last time she saw Sarah Barnabas, a certain sister was also looking or in the same area. And she just has to wonder.
So she heads to the alleyway then? You step around the side of the house. It's darker here. The height of the building blocks what little of the sun there was, and then the clouds roll back in overhead and it's gloomy again. You find yourself more easily hidden in the shadows, but when you turn the corner into the alleyway, you notice the alleyway stretches to the left back behind the building as well. You do not see Lyrily immediately. It's a dirty alleyway. The left side, where the building is, has a few bushes and coverings that make it look a little nicer on that side of the building. On the right side of the alley, it's a little dingier. There's a single water barrel with a hole in the top, the sort that, you imagine maybe catches rainwater or some such.
Pulling out the dagger, or not fully, just enough to have her hand on it. She's gonna very slowly and quietly walk towards where that turn behind the building is.
Roll me a perception check. You move about halfway down the alleyway, and you step into a puddle of rainwater, and it's a very rainy, muddy town. You think nothing of it at first, except for your foot seems to get a little stuck in the puddle itself. Something about it seems off to you.
I'm gonna try to pull my foot away from it.
Make me an athletics check.
I'm using inspiration on that.
All right, so that cancels out your exhaustion.
It's 220.
That helps so much. You pull your foot out of the puddle and you take a couple of strong steps away. As you do, the puddle grows, it shifts, amorphous, it's living. This thing is a watery blue form that rises up, and it opens itself like a maw, and it begins to come down towards you. But with you, you have alert, right?
Yeah.
With your alert and with your successful athletics check, I'll let you act first.
Oh, disengage and get the fuck out.
Which way are you running?
You know what? I'm gonna climb up this building. I have flippers and spider climbing. And also, now that I have the mobile feet, I've got 40 feet of movement.
Excellent.
And I can dash.
So you are disengaging and dashing up this building. You run straight up the side of this manor, straight up to the top. Roll a perception check. You look back down below, and this thing crashes into the ground behind you, splashes upward and reforms. It hits the side of the building too, and one end of it after another. It's also climbing up the building fast, almost as fast as you. It's not far away from you. However, while you are running, scaling, trying to get past this thing, you smack straight into the chest of a man wearing a nice suit, a top hat, leaning against a cane. This is Sir Leon. This is the man you saw in your dream, as you saw him in your dream. And for a moment, the clouds begin to part above. A ray of sun begins to come down, and he flips his cane up, and the bottom of it opens up into an umbrella, and he stands there looking down at you.
You're not easy to find.
Well, I only wanted you to find me, Averin. I didn't want the others to find me. Have you thought about my offer?
Yes.
Have you come to make a decision?
I'm gonna look back and see if this fucking, like, ooze thing is coming out.
It reaches the top. It's climbing up the side of the building. It reaches the top of the building. It opens up again, spreading like a watery blanket. And he holds up his left hand, and it stops. And it splashes back down to the street below, reforming into another puddle. Well,
let's talk.
come. There's a little shack nearby, abandoned. Nobody stays there, not anymore. Let's speak there.
And she's going to take a step back from him having, you know, been basically right up against him.
Come, please. And he offers you his left arm, the crook of it.
I can walk unescorted.
Suit yourself. And the cloud coverage comes back again. The sun disappears. As it does, he flips his cane over. The umbrella retreats up into it. He lets it tap down against the roof. And he begins to walk down the side of the building, much in the way that you scaled it. He looks back once at you, expecting you to follow.
Yeah, she's going to follow.
All right. He leads you through several back alleyways. You don't see Lyrily again. If she was there, she is elsewhere now. As you approach this little abandoned building, it looks like maybe it was a storage shed of some kind in the back of this manor. We're going to cut away from you and move back to the rest of the party. You're up in the room of the inn with the guards and the Knight of the Rose, Sir Gerhardt. And he speaks again. I wish that you would just make this easy on me and cooperate a little more fully. I can sense that you are... I don't wish for any of my men to be harmed.
We have no quarrel with you either. We have no quarrel with anyone.
What is it that you seek? Why are you here?
I tire of this.
My purpose is my own. I fear placing it out there.
Well, what about the rest of you?
I tire of your questions. I tire of this. If you are a man of honor, you let us go. There is no evidence tying to these murders because we did not do them. If you do not wish your men to be hurt, do not put them in a situation in which they could be injured. Do you want to know who I am?
He turns his nose up to you just slightly. That is exactly what I have been asking.
Well then, Knight Commander. I am the Patrus of Moat House. I am the Baron of Silveraxe. I am the 34th Count of Wardenshire. Knight of the Crown. Servant of the Golden General and Knight of Salamnia. Get out of my way.
I'll let you roll me Your choice of persuasion or intimidation.
Please tell me they're the same.
Going to take an inspiration here.
All right.
How about
Yes!
a natural 20?
Yes!
Get the
Get
fuck
the fuck out of
here.
here!
He looks down at the bars from the window that he removed, then back up to Sir Riordan, and he takes 1, 2, 3 steps, shoulder to shoulder now, knight to knight. He looks down his shoulder at you. He's not much taller than you, just a couple of inches. If you are a man of honor, as you say, this town, something terrible is happening. If you can do something about it, if you know something about it, then as a man of honor, do something. I will let you go on your way, but we will be watching you. Do not break any laws in Hearth Thalen. And perhaps we will never have to see each other again. He bows his head and starts to step out.
May the blessings of the Lord of Light be upon you.
He freezes for a moment at that, and you can hear him. Then he steps out.
Is the coffee done yet?
Turn back toward the fire and kneel down again. It is just.
How benevolent. This timing.
And I set out the small brass cups. Sir Knight?
No, thank you.
Very well.
Or for me.
I pour 4. I hand 1 to Honoria, and I set the other 3 on the table. Rukon.
He takes one with each hand.
And I take the final cup.
There is no point in subterfuge with any of you, Honoria says, opening her book and flipping through some pages. Just absolutely sick of your guys' shit at this point. Love you all, but sick of your shit.
Sir Riordan, that was impressive. I have to say, if you had approached me in that way, I would have felt compelled to do whatever you asked.
Well, then let us count our lucky stars that never came to pass.
I begin to
leave.
Yeah, I begin to gather up the cups and the pot and prepare to leave.
Can I look out the window to see if I can see Averin?
Roll me a perception check. You don't see Averin, but when you look out the window, you will see several of the carts being dragged from the east side of the road through westward towards the gate. You are very close to the gate. The inn is like the first building inside the town proper. And you can see the canvases pulled over the tarps over the top of the back of the carts. But from one of them, I'll say you do see what's obviously a dangling arm, just like swaying back and forth as the cart is pulled along.
Sir Knight, do you see? And I point at the dangling arm. Is that
the body? They said that they had dead. This is presumably it.
I wish I had known more about what caused these dead beings.
It definitely wasn't me. We'll say that now.
I can vouch for that.
How much did you all partake in? I say, looking at the size of Rookone and going like, he's a big boy.
I haven't had a proper drink since before I was a slave.
We drank with the dwarf.
I said a proper drink.
Wine is proper.
If last night is any indicator, proper is several, downed one after the other.
Then there should be more than enough people to collaborate this tale. Which means they don't care who we are. They likely just might want to pin this on us for ease of use. We should leave.
Well, after we find the girl, we should leave. She's part of our crew.
I agree.
We're not leaving without Averin.
I close my book as I have finally finished studying, preparing my spells, and pick up my coffee, breathe in deep, and go, do you propose that we'd wait here for her then?
No, not at all.
Then, as I said, we should leave.
Yes, let us find her.
I swear all of you could be hiding the staff of Magi somewhere where the sun does not shine.
So, at this point,
Y'all are hungover bitches this morning.
and I'll throw this out there for anybody who missed last week's episode. Sabria did outdrink Rookone with a double nat 20 roll on their drinking check. That is how it went down. Best drinking check I've ever seen in a game of D&D. At this point, are you all packing up? Are you getting ready to leave? What's the intention here as a group?
I'm packing up, checking my own injuries, I guess, and realizing I probably have a now kind of semi-permanent bump on my head for a little while, maybe where things have calcified over.
Everyone, you did get the benefit of a long rest. Averin is the only one who did not cure her exhaustion because of her particularly bad dream. Rookone, you recovered from your level of exhaustion, but you're still injured. So you currently have, with injury, half of your maximum hit points. But Honora, you slept a little longer than everyone else. The branches of the trees broke your fall a little bit. You're feeling achy, but you could be worse. Maybe you have like one broken rib, but it could be worse.
So don't cough.
Try not to. Who's taking up the mantle? Who's leading the party? How are we proceeding as a group?
We have a leader. Sabria.
I think we have several leaders.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'd sit and wait until the party can come to a consensus because y'all are dicks.
I think we don't know where she is, correct? She didn't leave any indication of where she was going. Am I right?
No, she didn't. She simply said she was going outside to have a look around.
Okay, yeah, we should probably stop that from happening in the future. because I don't think it's going to bode well. So at this point in time, since we have no fucking idea, I think we should split up.
Tactical.
Split the party.
Well, then
Worked
I
out
would
well in the past.
then to follow with such a suggestion, why don't the two carousers go, and I will take the wizard. We'll meet in the middle.
Do I think he's looking for the first excuse to fucking bail with me to go and save Lorana?
I don't know,
bad.
are you?
I don't know.
Why don't you roll me an insight check?
That's a 6. Nah, he would never do such a thing. Sounds unwise to once again split the party, but if this is what we have decided on, then so be it. I just do not want to sit here and wait for those knights to return.
Well, I think Riordan brings up a fair point. Meet somewhere in the middle of splitting the party and not splitting the party.
Watching your mind at work right now is a true honor.
I can guarantee we're not going to find her in here. She'll find us, but we will not find her.
I
opens the
motion my
door.
head to the door and start walking.
Yep. So you were all able to head downstairs, and again, the lobby of the inn itself not very busy. There are folks out in the marketplace. With a quick glance around the marketplace, which is basically a courtyard within this inn and trade post where people have stalls set up, you don't see Avrin. How are you splitting up? Where are you all looking?
Riordan?
Tactically, one of us should start and walk through the town until we hit the end, and then turn around and come back, and the other group should start from a north-south direction and do the same. Presumably we will meet in some type of town square, or at the very least, the middle.
That sounds tactical. Which this tavern's this way, correct?
You'll take the tavern route. We'll take the east-west route. If that, whatever which one is, I'll take
Whatever it is, yeah. So the tavern route, we'll move ahead here a little bit. Everybody go ahead and make me a perception check, except for Avrin. And so Rookone and Sabria, you retrace your steps towards the tavern the night before. This is the east-west route. And the tavern sits again just the edge of the wealthier area on the close to the poorer area of town. Whereas Sir Riordan and Honoria, you head north-south. You're moving along the other edge of the town. This is an area that's more market oriented. You see what looks like maybe a hospice or some sort of like small one room office where there's on the outside there's a drawing of a healer's kit. You see a number of other shops, a general store, blacksmiths. That's the area that you're looking for. Are you just moving up and down the streets? What's everybody's intention here in terms of how they're going about looking for Avrin?
To be honest, Honoria thinks that Avrin will she saw her walk out of the room perfectly hale and hearty, right? Avrin will find us whenever the fuck she wants. She's a rogue, so Honoria's probably not really looking that hard and more concentrating on the people and where she is and what's going on around her, and just figures she'll probably be like, hey, I'm right here. Also, I rolled a 6. Or a 5.
What about Sir Riordan?
He is going to do two things. One, before he leaves the night's rest, he's going to give Sir Ethan instructions that if Avrin were to return, there has to be some type of dinner bell town bell, alert bell that most of the inns would have to notify somebody of either a call or come to dinner or something like that. So if he wouldn't mind sounding that if she happens to come back so they can hear it and return. And then he's going to go look for her because he's the only one that saw her crawling on the ceiling last night, and he hasn't shared that with anyone yet. So despite being hale and hearty, he knows that she's anything but. So he needs to find Avrin. So he's going to walk and just do things as nightly as possible.
Sir Ethan kind of calls out after you're leaving. He's like, well, I do have a dinner bell, but it's I don't think she's going to hear it if she's very far away. And then the door closes.
That's not what... If she comes back, ring... Okay.
Meanwhile, Rookone and Sabria, you moving down back towards the tavern, the Wailing Banshee, where you spent the night before. How are you going about your search?
Rookone hides nothing, so his eyes are wide, his nostrils are flared, and he's avidly looking on the ground for any sort of small footprint or anything quickly moving.
Sabria is only making a show of looking. She knows two things. One, that if Avrin doesn't want to be found, she won't be. And also, Sabria knows that she is capable of knowing exactly where Avrin is if she wants to right now. But that would require a pretty significant expenditure. So I'm more of my attention focused on Rookone than it is on much of anything else.
And Rookone and Sabria, are you having a conversation as you go along, or are you just kind of very efficiently going about your business?
I think he's making a show of going very efficiently about his business until he hits the Wailing Banshee.
And doing just the same.
Oh, we're back here. I don't suppose that maybe a little hair of the dog would serve you well. It would do wonders for me, I can tell you that.
I won't stop you, Rookone. I don't know that I'm quite ready to press my luck.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. You're very tiny. Let me. I'll go in real quick, and then I'll be right back out.
All right, I'll just wait here then, and I'm gonna stand up against the wall outside the building and watch the people pass.
As Rookone heads in, do you look in after him? Do you take a look inside the Wailing Banshee?
I do, sort of a cursory glance.
You will see that it's not very busy. It's actually even less busy than it was the night before. It's morning, so you have to be really committed to be at the Wailing Banshee at this time of the day. But there are 4 individuals in there. 3 of them are sitting at the bar. They're all young, dressed in shabby clothing. Very poor looking. The 2 women, 1 man. The man looks a little rough around the edges. He looks like the sort that's probably, if he hasn't committed a crime, you could see how the town guards would immediately suspect him of having committed a crime. You do see also, before the door shuts and Rookone steps in, that there is a booth and there's a man sitting in the booth just off to the bar. And this is the same man you saw there the night before. He's wearing a tunic, very similar to some of the desert garb that Sabria remembers from her time in the Shifting Sands, except for that he has a fur cloak on over top. And he has a spear that's set up against the side of this booth. He's not holding the spear; it's just kind of resting there as he goes about eating some sort of meal, drinking from a mug, and then the door shuts. We're going to cut away from this scene, though, and we're going to move to Sir Riordan and Honoria. You search the other side coming towards the center of town. You do follow the market around. Are you stopping at any of the shops, or are you looking through windows? Are you checking alleys? How are you proceeding?
I'm listening to people around me to see if anyone is talking about someone like Averin, the strangers, the deaths, etc. But I'm not really outwardly going to be. Have you seen this woman? Have you seen this woman? Have you seen this woman? So, a little more laid back.
All right. Roll me a perception check. And how about Sir Riordan?
This is 16.
He's doing the same thing. The best way to find someone is to have someone else do it for you. And in this case, Honoria was completely correct. We're strangers. And they're going to... Did you just see her? I saw her pass here. You know, so any type of words or indications of somebody passing by, but he's also watching Honoria.
All right, so Sir Riordan, I want you to make me an insight check.
It's a strong 17.
The both of you hear a lot of passing chatter about concerns over there being a plague in town. You will, at a cursory overhearing, putting together pieces of information from multiple townsfolk, that over a dozen people died the night before, suddenly, unexpected. All of them residents of Solinari's Light, a hospital on the east side of town. All of them, except for 2, have been taken outside to be burned. You only know this because one of the passersby mentions that 2 of the dead were spared because their families were wealthy enough to have them properly buried. This is the major talk that you hear. You don't hear anything about Averin herself. Sir Riordan, what is it about Honoria that you're trying to observe?
For someone claims that they no longer have fear, he is simply checking to detect if there is indeed an element of fear in her gait and her gaze as she is contemplating, seeing if her face is scrunched or fearful. He's looking for the truth in her earlier statement.
It would be pretty plainly written on her face. She is afraid. She is a magic user in these times. She's walking with a staff and robes. She's walking much closer to your side than she might if you were out in the open, walking the forest, using you as a shield, Sir Knight, from everything else. Her head is down, looking furtively underneath from her hood. This place is terrifying.
Is she looking away from Sir Riordan or towards him?
Occasionally she'll look up, almost even jostle with him every now and then as she gets too close and touches him, kind of like if you're going down a narrow hallway, no matter how much space there is around them. But she is still looking out for Averin, thankful that her companions kept her alive. The least she can do is pay attention to what's going on around her.
Roll me one more perception check, Honoria.
I used all my 20s on Raceland, what can I say?
It's a good time to use them. Do you need another one for me too? Another perception?
Absolutely, yeah.
Need to look around. Strong 18.
That is better. And you sense that Honoria is not without fear, and as she kind of averts her gaze away from you and looks off to the side and looks down again. Riordan, you follow her gaze and you see a side alleyway as you're coming back around towards the city center. This is an alley that stretches eastward towards where the shanty town is. And then you see the hill with a larger compound, which you would have heard from listening to the passersby at this point. The compound on the hill at the east end of town is the hospital, Solinari's Light. As you're sort of looking off that way and you're passing by one of these alleys, you see for a moment Avrin with a man turning a corner.
There.
Look. Where?
He
Lead on.
He begins to move towards the area that he saw.
How quickly does he move?
As quickly as an old man in plate mail can.
I've seen you hustle. I will pitter-patter alongside him.
I'm quick, not sneaky.
All right. Each of you roll me one more perception check.
16.
Strong 11. Powerful, some may say. Or not.
Yeah.
Some might say, but then others of us are dungeon masters.
You move off into the alleyway, pursuing her in the direction where she turned the corner. You pass by a barrel. This is a water-catching barrel. And as you do, it's Honoria, who is just a few steps behind the knight. A spray of water comes out of the hole of the barrel, and it begins to solidify around you. This is like a lasso of slightly darker, slightly greener than normal liquid. And it's wrapping around you and beginning to expand. So Riordan, you are stepping over a puddle, and that puddle explodes upward. At first, you think it's just a big splash, but then it continues to splash until it's up over your head and beginning to form a shape, a geometric rhombus all around in front of you.
Gonna start spellcasting
Yes.
immediately. Saya
Well-
behind, and I'm gonna try to start winding time backwards because fuck that.
There is a surprise round with that natural 20.
I can't be surprised. I have alert.
Oh, yeah. All right. So roll me initiative, both of you.
That's not great. Come on, Riordan.
I apologize. I got so exhausted running this far.
Sir Riordan, the one directly ahead of you, the one that kind of explodes all around you, begins to take shape. It tries to envelop you, and you can feel it expand, grow until it's almost a watery sphere all around you. Go ahead and make me a dexterity saving throw.
I can see this coming, though, correct?
Absolutely.
19. Strong.
So as it tries to envelop you, you are able to push forward past it, through it, before it solidifies. But you do feel like your left arm, as you're pushing past, begins to get stuck. What was water turns into something more like gelatin, and you have to pull it out, which you are able to do. That is its turn. Honoria, it's your turn.
Can I begin spellcasting and try to revert time to stop us It's only 6 seconds, but I might.
What spell are you casting?
I am casting Honoria's Wheel of Time, my 4th level spell, which I do have prepared and marked down. I'm going to go ahead and post that in chat because it's a long one. At the end of a creature's turn. So he just took a turn taking a dex save. That would count, right?
The ooze just took a turn. That's right.
Okay. It's a bit of a dramatic spell casting, but to keep it short.
Describe how she casts this spell.
Usually she starts to lift up a little bit above the ground and begins chanting the words over and over as she moves time around her in a small whirlwind of actual wind, and it kind of cracks in her eyes as it flashes from gold and back, and Saya Perubahan, Saya Perubahan, Saya Perubahan. And the ecstasy completely takes and shakes her in that moment. And then everything that happens starts spinning the other way as the ooze would come undone, as her footsteps would start moving backwards, as everything would return in time to where it once was.
6 seconds ago.
Stop! She's there's something in that barrel that will attack us, she says, grabbing the back of his plate mail like a mother might grab a child's shirt.
You're just outside of the alleyway.
I just saw Avrin through that way.
And I am telling you to trust in my magic. And I go from grabbing him to kind of leaning on him for a moment.
What did you do? He helps her. What did you do?
I grab my crossbow and I shoot at the barrel of water.
You're able to shoot the barrel of water very easily. You'll see as it does, water begins to seep out of it, but it doesn't spray out of it or spill out of it very slowly. It's almost like it's like slowly oozing out of it, sliming out of it, trickling down onto the ground.
Would never believe me if I told you. But for now, I will just tell you that I have powers of dark magic. Do not go that way.
Jordan looks down. You underestimate my ability to believe. And he walks away.
Do better, I say at the sludge. And make my way around the corner, kind of like TV style, like leaning against the wall, just kind of like right after you bark a challenge, and want to like slide down to my knees, but I don't. A different way then.
Riordan will help if you'll accept his help. He will.
Oh, she absolutely will. As a weak, frail maiden might grab onto someone's arm, she holds it, eager to get away from that. No fear. She is a liar.
Can we run parallel to the where I saw Avrin dip by? Can we run parallel, like in the main street where they're presumably?
Roll me an investigate check.
Oh, this will go swimmingly.
What do I think that green sludge was?
Roll me an Arcana check.
How about a 19?
How about a 19 as well?
Sexy 19, friends!
We're the best around.
Honoria, you think is you're searching your mind what that sludge was. You're familiar with several types of oozes that exist that are created through various arcane rituals and other means. That's probably what this is. However, with a 19, I'll also tell you that you sense that there's something human about it, or maybe it used to be human. So Riordan, with the 19, you're able to find, you have to move through several other alleyways to to get there, but you're able to find your way to a back alleyway that you think connects to where they went. Roll me a perception check.
My God, how many of these checks do I need? Only one night.
One more.
How about a 21? How about a 21?
You see Averin moving several streets down. She turns another corner into the shanty town itself.
Riordan says, there. Is it okay to continue?
Yes, I say, knowing that if it's not, I can always give him a different answer later.
Deja vu. He'll run down.
You can continue to follow, pursuing them through into the poorer area of town. For a moment, we're going to cut away and cut back to Sabria. Sabria, you're standing outside the Wailing Banshee Tavern. Are you just watching? Are you looking for Averin? Is there anything in particular she's doing, or is she just waiting for Rookone?
I'm watching the people around me. I'm looking for Averin. See what's interesting here.
There's several manors across the street and down a block from you that are a little wealthier. That's the wealthier area of town. And you're not there standing too long before you hear cries go out from one of the manors.
Cries?
It sounds like shouting, alarm. I can't tell without getting closer if it's something bad happening or if it's revelry. You're not exactly sure what it is, but it sounds like multiple voices.
Just continuing to watch and wait.
It's about a minute later then when you see Sir Gerhardt swing open the front door of this manor and drag a young-looking woman with pale, sickly skin wearing a dress marked with flowers. She does not look well, and she's fighting him, and he's dragging her through the street, muttering to himself, "Thief, think you can come into my house today of all days?"
His house.
That's what you hear him say, and he's starting to move eastward towards the poorer area of town. So he's moving past you, and he will look at you as he's dragging her, and she's fighting him, but she's not able to escape his grasp. And there's several other guards that come out after him a few moments later. You recognize these to be the two squeamish guards that you saw outside the inn, and they're following behind. He'll continue to drag her east into the poor area of town. He does stare at you. You can't tell if it's quite confusion or skepticism, but he moves past you quickly. Rookone, do we move inside the tavern? What's Rookone doing?
So he walks up to the bar. Kind of casually. First off, he tries to see if Willowsby is at the bar.
It is Willowsby with her flat, multiple time broken nose and kind of hard, done this for many years face. She looks at you from over the bar as she's again stocking shelves.
It was a rough night last night. Are you still serving?
I'm always serving, yes. Do you have payment?
Does what I paid you last time work?
No. I'm sorry, I can't do business that way. I have to keep my doors open. I am grateful for what you gave me. It was a very fine tip.
He rummages around and looks for a pouch, pulls out a gold coin. How about this? Does this work?
That's nothing. Not here. Not in this land.
But it's still gold. You can melt it down and make whatever you want.
I don't melt. Listen, I have a lot of work to do before tonight, and then people are very scared after everything that's happened in town, and I suspect the tavern tonight is going to be very busy.
Great, and I need a fucking drink.
Roll me an intimidation check.
$10.
She leans over the bar and fingers to motion you closer.
Rukon comes closer.
She headbutts you.
How does it work out for her?
Let's roll opposed athletics checks.
I'm going to use advantage, obviously, on this one.
Okay.
28.
How does it work out for her? Right before she does so, she says, "Don't come in here and threaten me inside my own bar. Get out." She goes to headbutt you.
And she headbutts me. Rukon does nothing in this whole sequence. Like, there's no activation of anything special. She grabs him and headbutts him, and her face splits open on his own skull. And then she reacts how she reacts.
So you imagine this might be how she's broken her nose multiple times. But she falls back, stumbles against the ground. She's bleeding. She's wiping blood out of her face. She doesn't look panicked or scared. But as she's kind of cleaning her face, she says, "All right, fine, but you owe me. Take your drink and get out." And she pours a mug full of, you can tell it's cheap whiskey, shoves it over towards you, and then stares coldly at you. And if she liked you the night before, you get the sense that she doesn't anymore.
Rukon picks up the mug of whiskey, chugs the whole thing, slams it down on the bar. Think twice before you headbutt somebody 3 times your size.
Get out before I call the police scara. I know where you're from.
Oh, is that so? Where am I from?
You told me. You told me last night.
Oh, yeah. What did I say?
Get out.
As I thought.
You see the figure in the corner of the room who's sitting in the booth wearing tunic beneath a fur cloak stand up, and he grabs a long spear that's leaning against the bar, and he calls out towards you, only taking a single step towards you in the bar. "You heard the lady. Get out now."
The queen and her pawns. Rukon turns around and walks out the door.
As he does, we cut away from the scene as he rejoins Sabria outside, and we move back to Averin. Averin, you have been following for 15 minutes or so Sir Leon through town, and just like before, sometimes he pulls up the umbrella if there's a moment of sun, puts it back down, and uses it as a walking cane otherwise. He looks over his shoulder at you frequently, but unless you address him, he doesn't say anything. What's Averin doing?
Avrin's following him, and throughout this entire time is just watching him, his behavior, what he's doing. And as this is happening, she has her hand in her pocket, and she's fiddling with that piece of wood.
Roll me an insight check. It's a 15 even with your disadvantage. He plays it pretty close to the chest. He looks at you and you see in his eyes the same look you saw the night before. It's a mad zeal. It's a passion that's slightly unhinged, but his mannerisms, the way he moves, the way he steps is even, calm, noble. He walks through several alleyways and then gestures towards what looks like an empty, rundown shack, some sort of building, very small. The door is already open, slightly broken, hanging on its hinges, and the rain has been falling for several minutes outside. Well, if you're ready, I'm ready.
Let's talk.
Let's talk. He steps into the shack.
Oh, and Avrin will look behind her and follow in.
She doesn't see anybody behind her of note. It's just a poor area, people moving about, doing their thing. She steps in. You see sitting on a makeshift stand in the corner of this small shack, a suit of armor, a war hammer is resting next to it. And he says, as he sweeps around and turns back to you, I despise this town, how dirty it is. Just like this entire land. So full of sin. But here we are, and we have to make the best of where we are. Don't you think?
I think we just need to do what it takes to survive.
Do you want to survive, girl? Or do you want to thrive?
Depends on what the price is.
You will live for as long as you may, never raging, never feeling sickness, never knowing fear, not the way you did before. There is a cost. You must feed. You must take from others. It's enough to drive even the purest man mad. But with my help, I can show you the way to remain true to yourself. You can take what I'm offering you, or you can become as those things out in the forest. Monsters.
If I do this, I'm guaranteed to not become one of those things.
That is correct. You see, they are a cousin of what I am. You could be one of their progeny, or you could become my daughter. I used to have a large family. Gone now. But we'll start again here.
Avrin visibly flinches at the word daughter. I lost my family. I don't wish to substitute one.
Is that your choice?
And she's looking down and away from his face. A turmoil of emotions, anger, and fear. I've been told I'm not a very good daughter. But if I can avoid being one of them, then I accept.
Very good. I promise you, you have made the right choice. Come. Take your medicine. And he extends a hand towards you. His fingers are long. They curl upwards just slightly. His nails almost as long as his fingers, longer than they were before.
How?
I drink a little bit of you, and then you drink a little bit of me. And then you change.
And she's going to take his hand.
One finger at a time wraps around the top of your hand from where he holds your palm. You can feel his fingernails curling around your hand, tightening, almost like a noose. He smiles a little wider, and you can see then two pointed incisors growing, extending. That look in his eyes, that fire burns more. You may want to close your eyes.
She does.
Is there anything else that she does?
She thinks about being swarmed by those creatures, literally leaving her, being buried alive, and channels that fear and anger into determination.
Determination for what?
That whatever happens, she is going to get through this, no matter the cost.
You feel a feeling that's not unlike the feeling you felt when those creatures in the woods began to tear into you, swarm you. your eyes closed tight. But that's where we're going to end our story for tonight.
Kiana, what the fuck? Why?
Y'all can make guesses as to what Avern's alignment is now.
I think I'm getting a better idea.
Oh, man. I thought I wanted you all on the dark side, but now it's
not fun, is it?
No, it's great when there's one Muppet, but when you all start coming over.
All right. So that is how we will end this week. We're going to go around here in a second and let everybody say who they are, where we can find them, if they had anything particular about this episode they want to share with the viewers or each other. I will say for everybody watching, the next 2 weeks, we're going to be doing 2 more flashback episodes, our last 2 flashback episodes. We're going to see Rookon's flashback and then Honoria's flashback, and we're going to have guest stars for each of them. I'm really excited about that. And then we're going to come back to this Harthalen storyline, and I think we're going to understand a little bit more about what's happening now and what's happening moving forward after these 2 flashbacks. But that's what's coming up for this show. I love tonight's episode. I'm really enjoying this sort of change of pace and the slow burn of Harthalen, but it's going to be ranching up here soon. It's going to be picking up, and I'm excited to see how that goes too. In the meantime, let's move around here in a circle, and since she is the one who just made the big decision, let's start with Kiana.
I'm sorry? Not really. I've been preparing for this moment for about a month and a half since she died the first time around. So, this is gonna be fine. She's totally not gonna be super bloodthirsty or drink from anybody. And yeah, you guys can totally guess as to what her alignment is now. Not true neutral anymore. But this was great. This was fun. I can't wait to come back next week for the flashback episode, and then future stuff for finding out what happens with Avern. That's gonna be interesting. But until then, you guys can find me over on Twitter at Kiana. Best way to figure out what I'm doing, because I'm all over the internet playing role-playing games almost every day of the week. But you can find me on this channel on Monday for Wild Blue Yonder, our Lady Blackbird campaign. It's a ton of fun. If you like drama and exploring a space like steampunky kind of setting. And you can find me over on the Discord. We're going to be announcing some fun stuff. I'll let Don and Greg talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, definitely come hang out with us on the Discord. Let me grab a link for y'all. And then we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Yes. And we still have I will say this, Sir Riordan and Honoria are hot on the heels of Avren. So I think it's gonna be really interesting when we come back in a couple of weeks to see how that plays out. And there's a couple of other things going on too. Speaking of, Honoria, welcome back.
Hi. It feels like I was never gone. Paralyzing fear at the end of every episode makes me feel so well at home. I had a great time in tonight's episode. My favorite moment tonight actually was the scene between you and Rookon at the end with the bartender lady being crazy, because you are a bartender in real life and I have also bartended in real life, and there were some moments there that I definitely know that was Don shining through and not necessarily all of the DM, because that was pretty fantastic. When you said that was a good tip for yesterday, it's like, yeah, no, the $100 that you gave me yesterday or whatever it was, that doesn't work for today. Like, it's a whole new day. It's new money. Like, don't give me that shit. And also her cracking her face off of Rakon's skull, or it was that was just a beautiful moment from one ex bartender to two others, because I believe you bartend as well, right, Bill? Yeah. So you guys, that was some shit. I love this game because I absolutely love how fucking crazy you drive me, Dawn. I spend hours afterwards breaking down each little thing, wondering if it's just something off the cuff that you meant, or if it's something that I should have put more thought into. And I think that's the sign of an amazing dungeon master, is someone who, yeah, no fear. Exactly. That's all I can think is, what do you want me to not be afraid of, master? What is it? But I have lots of fear. Honoria has lots of fear and things to be afraid of, no matter how bold she claims to be. You can find me at Roleplayers TV on Twitter. On Fridays, I'm over on Encounter Roleplay, and I do a whole bunch of stuff. I finally moved into my new house. I know you can't tell any difference because I've set it up exactly the same way that it is, but I am in a brand new house and ready to start streaming. And I'm very happy that my internet held up for this. And that's me.
Awesome. Yeah, and I do. I don't bring Raceland into the story too often, but it's always fun when he shows up.
I love it. I really do.
That's all I'll say about that. Let's move over. Speaking of headbutts. Hey, Bill.
Oh, I thought that was Sabria's segue. Yeah. Oh man, I'm really digging on these town episodes, these character reveal episodes, if you will. Because everything that you've written finally has a chance to bleed out. Yeah, this was awesome. Finally got a chance to maybe potentially get a glimpse at a darker side, maybe not. But this is great. I'm loving this relationship building that we're doing right here. You can follow me at Bill of the Forest on Twitter. And I'm really looking forward to these flashback episodes coming up. I'll be in Honoria's flashback episode, and I think I'm in my own. I think I'm in Rukon's flashback episode.
Yeah, we're going to let you do that.
Okay. Yeah. Because there was a little bit where I thought Greg was going to be Rukon in my flashback episode, which I was cool with. Greg's great. But he recently trimmed his face. So really looking forward to everything going on the next couple of weeks. Shout out to everybody in chat. Y'all were dope today. All the YouTube people watching after the fact. This is awesome. I'm really having a lot of fun in this campaign.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, because we do have a good deal of folks who are watching every week on YouTube real consistently. And thank you for watching. Thank you for leaving us nice comments. We love it. We love telling this story, and it means a lot to us that you feel the way we do about this world, about Dragonlance and these characters and what we're doing here. And if you ever get a chance to check it on the live show on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there's a link down there. Just click it on YouTube. If you get a chance, we'd love to have you. Our chat is great. I know you can't see that on YouTube, but man, we call them Legion, and they are awesome. They're a lot of fun, and they make this show just a real joy to do. So with that said, next week will be Rukon's flashback episode. It is titled Blood Sea, so let that ruminate. But in the meantime, let's move over to Allison.
Oh, what a blast. I had so much fun tonight. I love it too. I love getting to see the role play of this group of players really shine. And each one of you I'm amazed that I get to share screen space and roll dice with you. It's such a gift to me. So much fun. And I love this character. She is getting more fun to play with every episode. So I'm loving getting to bring her to life here. I will be back here on the channel in just a few nights on Sunday night for the premiere of our new Pulp Cthulhu show, Project Hyperion, which is set in the same world as Project Athena and Project Cronus. If you enjoyed those shows, Project Hyperion moves ahead in time a little bit, 1942. In the Far East, in the early days of America's entry into World War II, strange things are afoot, and our team of Olympians will be gathering to figure out what that is and to be slowly driven insane by their new keeper, me. I am so excited to get to add a contribution to this world. Excited. Greg and Don are both joining us in that game. Some fantastic characters along with Lauren and Steven and Lindy from Project Athena. Check us out. That's Sunday nights at 7. And right here on the channel. In the meantime, you can catch me on Twitter at Allison Robinson with 2 L's and a Y, and back here every Wednesday night for some dark and gritty Dragonlance. I love it. I love you all. See you then.
Awesome. Yes. And before I pass it off to Greg, I'll say I'm Don. You can follow me on Twitter at Donathan Fry. I do play in other games. I do write stuff. I have this is hopefully this is going to be a year of writing for me. So if you see me post anything about any writing projects, feel free to ask me. I'm always happy to talk to folks about my process, what I do. I probably like talking to folks too much. But yeah. If you guys are out there, you ever have any questions about this game, about any of that, please reach out. I love talking about that stuff. As for everything else going on, Project Hyperion Hype, the Olympian world, Athena, Kronos, now Hyperion. I love it. I was very lucky to play one of my favorite characters I've ever played in Project Kronos. And I'm very, very excited to see what Allison has in store, because I've watched Allison and read some of the things that she's written. I know she's an amazing world builder, and that's a great world. So if you're around this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please come by, support our first episode of that show. It's going to be awesome. And before I pass it off to Greg, I do need y'all to make me charisma saving throws for corruption. And I will tell you right now, the poll results are in. Because we hit our first goal for the night, the light still shines. Rook Own, you are the winner of the light still shines. That means you're protected from your next failed corruption saving throw. That gives you 2 protections, the same amount as Sir Riordan. We also have the subscriber poll. These are for all the folks who are subscribers to the channel. They get to vote at the end during the episode for that poll to let somebody fight back against corruption. They get to reduce the current corruption that they have. Sabria won this one. So let's see. Sabria, 12.
I have 5 corruption right now.
So I want you to roll me 1d8.
All righty. Seven.
Now roll me 1 more d8.
What?
Because you failed. You failed
Another
your
7.
corruption saving throw. Because Nutari, the Black Moon, is dominant. You would have become even more corrupted if it weren't for the poll in chat. They saved you / cost you from leveling up. So depending on how you want to look at it, you're doing all right.
I'm good. I'm good for a while. Thanks so much, chat.
Rookone, you did fail yours as well. However, since you won the other poll in chat, you're going to be protected this week. Kiana and Greg and Noria. Oh no, Greg, you failed too. You have protection now.
What's failing?
When Nutari still shines, when the Black Moon is dominant, you need a 14.
Oh, that's stupid.
I think it's very fair. I think it's incredibly generous.
I think it's the most fair that anything could possibly be.
So Sir
says
Riordan
the bottom
and
of the
Roko-
well.
you can't. She's already the worst, the literal. Rukon and Sir Riordan, you both have 1 level of corruption protection left. And Avrin, you actually have 1 level of corruption protection left as well. Sabria, you have no protection currently, but you did cancel out your bad mojo for the day. You still have 5 corruption for next week. And that's all I have. I'm going to pass it off to Greg now and talk about stuff on the channel and whatnot.
Alrighty, everybody, I'll make this quick so we can get out of here. A lot of fun things are coming up on the channel. Tomorrow night, we have Dungeon of the Mad Mage at 8 p.m. Eastern. Join us as we delve into Wizards of the Coast's latest offering as our group gets deeper and deeper into Hallister's labyrinth of fun. And then also on Sunday before Hyperion, if you wouldn't mind switching over around 4 p.m. Eastern, you can see a little episode 0 of Highlander. We have Jonathan Pruitt, Tall Squall, Bird v. Plane, and we have White Rabbit Pick, otherwise known as Alice, coming in as Immortals, and my buddy Trendane coming in as our version of the Kurgan. So, and then of course, Summer's coming in as Sarah McLeod, the Highlander. So we've got a great cast. We're going to talk about exactly what it means for each of these Highlanders or each of these Immortals and how they play a role in Highlander. So episode 0, and then we'll start full-fledged a week from Sunday with our actual narrative. Maybe throw in a little bit on Sunday as well. But in addition, we have some fun stuff coming up next week. In fact, for, I believe it's Rookon's backstory next Wednesday, we will be having a giveaway in chat as we are now sponsored. Hey! And so as we are sponsored, I will not tease who our lovely sponsor is at this time, but follow us on Twitter, and a wonderful Legion, I will let you know that there's fun things that come in that are Legion oriented. So just join us next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and we will have something for the Legion. So be here.
It's me,
and
sponsor. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, it's Tia. Everyone, you win a spider of swords or something, right? And also, in addition to that, I would like you to all go over and make sure you join us on Discord, because we here at Tales from the Grim love our casts. They are the things and the drivers that make the wheels of narrative turn and move. And so in our first effort to move towards a pay scale and pay system for our lovely cast, we are going to begin our monthly madness series, where we are going to have a special kind of cast collected narrative at once a month, where we are going to, any donations that come in will go directly towards the support of our lovely casts. We have several other initiatives in play. This is the first step towards valuing art, because if we don't value our own art, who will? And so that's what we would like you to do. Follow us on Discord, keep alert, and be ready to vote on what you think would be the best or the most exciting or the one that you'd like to see as the monthly madness offering for the very first one. So with all that being said,
I was just going to say, it's all in the Discord right now. Literally right now.
It's there.
You can see the announcements in our announcements channel, have a full detail about what we're doing with Monthly Madness, and go over to the One Shot, One Shot channel, where you can react to vote. I will put up a little reacts thing. There's a key there for you guys. So go ahead and vote on what story you would like to see this upcoming months as we start doing this.
Purple Octopus. Anyway, so as you react and vote over on Discord, I will tell you that I am Grimjack21502 on the Twitter. Obviously, Tales from the Grim is a collective, and you're currently standing in the middle of it. So now it's time to scrape us off your shoes, as we're going to go over and raid our buddies at the Academy. Scrat and Alice are waiting to entertain you a little bit more this fine Wednesday evening. But like I said, please join us back here on Thursday for Mad Mage, on Sunday for Highlander and Hyperion, on Monday for Wild Blue yonder, and then back here next Wednesday, where we do this all again. Only we all get a little bully.
Oh, that one took me. That one took me.
I'll see you all later. We love you, Legion. Until next time.